Ecology. Environmental biology. B et OLLOYF chapters. 1. Introduction. 2. Ecology in India. 3. Environment equals 4. Abiotic environmental factors. 5. Biotic environmental factors. G. 6. Population ecology. 7. Biotic communities. 8. Ecological succession. 9. Ecosystem, structure and function. 10. Biogeochemical cycles. 11. Aquatic ecosystems, freshwater communities. 12. Aquatic ecosystems, estuaries and marine communities. 13. Terrestrial ecosystems. 14. Pollution. 15. Ecology and human welfare. 16. Wildlife management. 17. Biogeography. 18. Adaptations. Ecology is the study of interrelationship of organisms with their physical and biotic environment. Introduction. O microorganism, plant or animal species including man, is an isolated organism living in a void. Each of them is surrounded by a host of physical conditions that can be measured in terms of chemical composition, texture, pressure, temperature, and humidity, as well as being surrounded by a host of other living organisms which can be described in such terms as microorganism, plants, animals, food, parasites, and enemies. Studies of the interrelationships of organisms with their physical and biotic environments are termed environmental biology or ecology. These words are very much in the public consciousness today as we become aware of some of the past and current ecological malpractices. It is important for everyone to know and appreciate the principles of this aspect of biology so that one can form an intelligent opinion regarding topics such as insecticides, detergents, mercury pollution, sewage disposal, power dams, urbanization and their effects on mankind, on human civilization, and on the world we live in. The term ecology, okology, is derived from two Greek words. Oikos equals means house, or place to live, and logos means a discussion or study. Literally, ecology is the study of organisms at home in their native environment. The term was first of all introduced by Reiter in 1868, but because the German biologist Ernst Haeckel, 1869, first of all fully defined for ecology, environmental biology. This term and made an extensive use of this term in his writings. He is therefore usually falsely credited for the coinage of the term ecology. C.C.B. Knight, 1965. Definition of ecology. The traditional definition of ecology is the study of an organism and its environment. However, different ecologists have defined it variously. Ernst Haeckel, 1869, defined ecology as the total relation of the animal to both its organic and its inorganic environment. In 1936, Taylor defined ecology as the science of all the relations of all organisms to all their environments. Charles Elton, 1947, in his pioneer book Animal Ecology, defined ecology as scientific natural history. Although this definition does point out the origin of many of our ecological problems, yet it is much broad and vague like Haeckelian definition of ecology. Allais et al. 1949, in their definition of ecology, clearly emphasizes the all-encompassing character of this field of study. According to them, ecology may be defined broadly as the science of the interrelation between living organisms and their environments, including both the physical and biotic environments, and emphasizing interspecies as well as interspecies relations. Though F. J. Bernberg and W. B. Bernberg, 1970, completely agree with Allais et al.'s definition, yet there are certain ecologists which are not satisfied with this definition and have provided their own definitions of ecology. For instance, Andrew Eartha, 1961, defined ecology as the scientific study of the distribution and abundance of organisms. G. A. Petrides, 1968, has defined ecology as the study of environmental interactions which control the welfare of living things, regulating their distribution, abundance, production and evolution. Eugene Odum, 1963, 1969 and 1971, has defined ecology as the study of the structure and function of ecosystems or structure and function of nature. The Indian ecologist R. Misra, 1967, defined ecology as the interactions of form, functions and factors. These three interacting aspects, i.e., form, functions, and factors, integrate together to construct the triangle of nature. C. J. Krebs, 1972, has shown his satisfaction over the definition of Odum for its emphasizing the form and function idea that permeates biology, but he, Eugene Odum, cited it vague. He, however, proposed the modified version of Andrew Eartha's definition of ecology, according to which ecology is the scientific study of the interactions that determine the distribution and abundance of organisms. According to M. E. Clark, 1973, ecology, the science of the environment, is a study of ecosystems, or the totality of the reciprocal interactions between living organisms and their physical surroundings. Two Indian authors, Ananthakrishnan and Viswanathan, 1976, have defined ecology as the study of the ways by which individual organisms, populations of species and communities of populations respond to diverse environmental pressures, i.e., physical and biotic pressures. This definition is merely the modified version of the definition of ecology which has been originally proposed by T. Lewis and L. R. Taylor, 1967, in their book, Introduction to Experimental Ecology. According to Lewis and Taylor, ecology is the study of the way in which individual organisms, populations of same species and communities of populations respond to these changes. Lastly, to avoid this ecological jargon, we can rely upon the simple definition of ecology which has been provided by Charles H. Southwick, 1976. According to him, ecology is the scientific study of the relationships. Introduction 5. Of living organisms with each other and with their environments. Thus, it is the science of biological interactions among individuals, populations, and communities. Ecology is also the science of ecosystems, the interrelations of biotic components with their non-living environments. Ecology versus environmental studies. The continuing increase of human population and the associated destruction of natural environments with deforestation, pesticides and pollutants have awakened the awareness of the public to the word of ecology. However, much of this recent interest centers on the human environment and human ecology. Unfortunately, the word ecology became identified in the public mind with the much broader problems of the human environment, and ecology came to mean everything and anything about the environment. The science of ecology is concerned with the environments of all plants and animals and is not solely concerned with humans. As such, ecology has much to contribute to some of the broad questions about humans and their environments. Apparently, ecology should be to environmental sciences physics-engineering. Just as humans are constrained by the law of physics when we build aeroplanes and bridges, so also we should be constrained by the principles of ecology when altering the environment. C. C. J. Krebs, 1985. HISTORICALBACKGROUND of Ecology. The roots of ecology lie in natural history, which is as old as man himself. The vague beginning of ecology may be traced back to prehistoric man, who utilized environmental information to hunt food, fishing, trap animals, find edible vegetation, and locate shelter to survive the hardships imposed by nature. An increased knowledge of the importance of environmental conditions led quite naturally to religious rituals, worship of weather gods, and rain dances, all of which are quite prevalent in different social groups and tribes of Indian civilization. The establishment of agriculture increased the need to learn about the practical ecology of plants and domestic animals. Further, the science of ecology has had a gradual but spasmodic development during the recorded history of human civilization. Consequently, the historical background of ecology can be traced as follows. 1. Ecology in Indian classics. Early Indian philosophers and thinkers had some knowledge of ecology as has been revealed by the Indian classical writings, in the Vedic, Upanishadic, Puranic, and epic literature. Charaka considered the important factors of Vayu, air and gases, Jala, water, Desha, topography, and time in regulating the life of plants. C. R. Misra, 1962. The great classical Indian poet Kalidasa has displayed his ecological faculty in his classics, Ritu Sanhar, Meghdut, and Abhigyan Sakantlam. 2. Early Greeks' ideas of ecology. The early Greek philosophers too were well aware of the importance of environmental studies. One of the papers entitled Airs, Waters and Places of Hippocrates stressed on the need of ecological background for medical students. According to him, whoever wished to investigate medicine properly, should proceed thus: in the first place to consider the seasons of the year, and what effects each of them produces. In the 4th century BC, Aristotle made references about the habits of animals and environmental conditions prevailing in certain areas, in his writings on natural history. One of Aristotle's friend and associate Theophrastus, 372-50 BC, who is regarded as the first true ecologist, wrote about the association of plant communities and the relation of plants to each other and the non-living environment. 3. Ecology in 18th century. After a considerable long gap of many centuries, the first naturalist who made a serious attempt. 6. Ecology, environmental biology. To systematize knowledge concerning relations of animals to environment was Buffon, 1707-1788. Those such works as Historia Animalium by Kennard Gessner, 1519-1565, 14 volumes of collected works of natural history by Ulisse Aldrovandi, 1522, 1605, The Natural Histories of Fishes and Birds by Pierre Bellin, 1517-1564, The Plants by Andrea C. Salpino, 1519-1603, The Botanical Work of Gaspard Bauhin, 1550-1624, Demographical Studies about Human Ecology by Grant, 1664, Studies of the Sexuality of Plants by Rudolf Camerarius, 1665-1721, The Works of English naturalist John Ray, 1627-1705. Studies on Natural History of Insects by French naturalist René Réaumur, 1683-1757. And the works of many other naturalists doubtlessly laid the foundation upon which Buffon built his remarkable work. Buffon considered that animals and plants developed adaptations which enabled them to favorably respond to their environment, and termed animals and plants develop adaptations which enables them to this environmental indic favorably respond to their environment. He touched on many of our modern ecological problems and recognized that population of man, other animals and plants are subjected to the same processes. Buffon also explained how the great fertility of every species was counterbalanced by innumerable agents of destruction. He, thus, dealt with problems of population regulation. Anton van Leeuwenhoek, best known as a pioneer microscopist of the early 1700s, also pioneered the study of food chains and population regulation, which are two important areas of modern ecology. See Odum, 1971. Malthus published one of the earliest controversial book on demography. In his essay on population 1798, he calculated that although the number of organisms can increase geometrically 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, their food supply may never increase faster than arithmetically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Such a great disproportion between these two powers of increase led Malthus to infer that reproduction must eventually Anton van Leeuwenhoek, best known as a pioneer microscopist of the early 1700s, also pioneered the study of food chains and population regulation, which are two important areas of modern ecology. See Odum, 1971. Malthus published one of the earliest controversial book on demography. In his essay on population 1798, he calculated that although the number of organisms can increase geometrically 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, their food supply may never increase faster than arithmetically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Such a great disproportion between these two powers of increase led Malthus to infer that reproduction must eventually be checked by food production. Many workers questioned the ideas of Malthus. For example, in 1841 Doubleday brought out his true law of population. To contradict the Malthus idea, he believed that whenever a species was threatened, nature made a corresponding effort to preserve it by increasing the fertility of its members. Human populations that were undernourished had the highest fertility, those that were well-fed had the lowest fertility. Doubleday explained these effects by the oversupply of mineral nutrients in well-fed populations. Further, many of the early developments in ecology came from the applied fields of agriculture, fisheries, and medicine. For example, work on the insect pests of crops has been one of the important source of ideas. The regulation of populations. The regulation of population size of obnoxious insects is a basic problem that has been under study. In 1762 the myna bird was introduced from India to the island of Mauritius to control the red locust. Due to such biological control, by 1770 the locust threat was a negligible problem. Forska wrote in 1775 about the introduction of predatory ants from nearby mountains into date palm orchards to control other species of ants feeding on the palms. In 1775 about the introduction of predatory ants from nearby mountains into date palm orchards to control other species of ants feeding on the palms in southwestern Arabia. In subsequent years an increasing knowledge of insect parasitism and predation led to many such introductions all over the world in the hope of controlling introduced and native agricultural pests. Similarly, medical work on infectious diseases such as malaria around the 1890s gave rise to the study of epidemiology and interest in the spread of disease through a population. Before malaria could introduction 7 be controlled adequately, it was necessary to know in detail the ecology of mosquitoes. Likewise, the production ecology had its beginnings in agriculture, and Egerton 1969 has traced this back to the Likewise, the production ecology had its beginnings in agriculture, and Egerton 1969 has traced this back to the 18th century botanist Richard Bradley. Bradley recognized the fundamental similarities of animal husbandry and production, and he proposed methods of maximizing agricultural yields, and hence profit for vineyards, trees, poultry, rabbits and fish. 4. Ecology in 19th century production ecology enables maximum agriculture yields. In 1807, Humboldt, after extensive traveling of tropical and temperate South America, discussed the geographical distribution of plants and animals in relation to climate. Edward Forbes in 1844 described the distribution of animals in British coastal waters and part of the Mediterranean Sea. And he wrote of zones of differing depths which were distinguished by the associations of species they contained. He noted that some species are found only in one zone and that other species have a maximum of development in one zone but occur sparsely in other adjacent zones. Mingled in are stragglers that do not fit in zonation pattern. Forbes recognized the dynamic aspect of the interrelations between these organisms and their environment. As the environment change, one species might die out, another might increase its abundance. English naturalist, St. George Jackson Mivart coined the term hexecology around 1859 and in 1894 he defined it as devoted to the study of the relations which exist between the organisms and their environment as regards to the nature of the locality they frequent, the temperatures and the amounts of light which suit them, and their relations to other organisms as enemies, rivals or accidental and involuntary benefactors. Saint Hilaire. Poultry has an economic base. 1859 used the term ethology for the study of relations of organisms to environment and outlined a volume, which he never wrote, on instincts, habits, and other ecological matters. The term ethology, though is not accepted by early ecologists, but this term is now used as an important ecological discipline dealing with animal behavior. In 1869, Haeckel proposed ecology for the relations of organisms to organic and inorganic environments. The modern term ecology is derived from the word oecology. The observations of Priestley and Scheele that plants produce oxygen led to an understanding of the interrelationships of plants and animals. The discovery that green plants and animals use carbon dioxide and water to form organic matter for use by animals and result in the release of oxygen and water as wastes, provided new understanding of ecological food chains. Justus von Liebig (1803–1873) initiated the idea of carbon and nitrogen cycles in nature, and his work, 1840, led to ecoclimatology and physiological ecology. Further, out of such studies in aquatic environment developed the field of ecological energetics. Louis Agassiz (1807–1873) initiated the research in marine ecology by establishing many laboratories for marine ecological research. Carl Moebius (1877) introduced the word biocenosis to designate a group of organisms as an ecological unit. Charles Darwin (1809, 8 Ecology, Environmental Biology. 1882, and Alfred R. Wallace (1823–1915) have increased our knowledge of island of insular life with their characteristically different types of environmental conditions. Henson, 1887, in a classical paper on the lake as a microcosm, suggested that the species assemblage in a lake was an organic complex and that by affecting one species we exerted some influence on the whole assemblage. Thus each species maintains a community of interest with the other species, and we cannot limit our studies to a single species. Forbes believed that there was a steady balance of nature, which held each species within limits year after year, even though each species was always trying to increase its number. The Russian pioneer ecologist V.V. Dokuchev, 1846–1903, and his chief disciple G.F. Morozov, who ethology deals with particular behavior, specialized in forest ecology, placed great emphasis on patterns of animals. The concept of the biocenosis, a term later expanded by Russian ecologist geobiocenosis, a term equivalent to ecosystem. Schroeder, 1896, introduced the terms autoecology and synecology. Herdman, 1896, indicated the economic possibilities of scientific agriculture. Danish botanist Warming, 1895–1909, raised questions about the structure of plant communities and the associations of species in these communities. In 1899, H. C. Cowles described plant succession on the sand dunes at the southern end of Lake Michigan. Thus, as a recognized distinct field of biology, the science of ecology dates from 19th century, and only in the mid-20th century has the word become the part of the general vocabulary. 5. Ecology in the 20th century. At the beginning of the 20th century, ecology was a young, but an established science, and such eminent ecologists as Wasman (1901), Dahl (1901), and Wheeler (1902) were discussing whether Saint Hilaire's ethology or Haeckel's ecology should be used to designate the science of relations of organisms to environments. The latter term has gradually come into general usage. Case 1905 discussed environmental conditions of past geological periods and has continued to make contributions in that field. Two botanists, Clements, in his Research Methods in Ecology, 1905, and subsequent writings, and Warming, 1909, 1925, in his Ecology of Plants, have done much to clarify ideas and contribute terms. Adams, 1913, gave an excellent review of significant ecological literature, urged the usefulness of ecological surveys, and discussed methods to be used in making them. Shelford, 1912, demonstrated excellent examples of ecological succession and has made notable contributions concerning animal communities, 1913, and environmental factors, 1929. In 1920, the German limnologist Thienemann introduced the concept of trophic levels in terms of producers and consumers. The theoretical approaches in population dynamics of Lotka, 1925, and Volterra, 1926, stimulated the experimental approaches by biologists. Gleason, 1926, studied the development and dynamics of plant communities. Shelford, 1913, 1937, Adams, 1909, and Dice, 1943, in America, and Elton, 1927, in England, investigated the interrelations of plants and animals. In 1935, A. G. Tansley first proposed the term ecosystem. Gause, 1935, investigated the interactions of predators and prey and the competitive relationships between species. At the same time, Nicholson studied interspecific competition. In 1954, Andrewertha and Birch and Lack provided a broader foundation for the study of regulation of populations. The discovery of the role of territory in bird life by H. E. Howard in 1920 led to further studies by Nice in the 1930s and The discovery of the role of territory in bird life by H. E. Howard in 1920 led to further studies by Nice in the 1930s and 1940s. Out of such studies came the field of behavioral ecology. Introduction 9. In the 1940s and 1950s, Lorenz and Tinbergen developed concepts of instinctive and aggressive behavior. In 1962, Wynne Edwards of England explored the role of social behavior in the regulation of populations. In the field of ecological energetics, in 1920, the German limnologist Thienemann introduced the concept of trophic levels in terms of producers and consumers. Two American limnologists, Burge and Jude, in the 1940s, through their measurements of the energy budgets of lakes, developed the idea of primary production. Starling chicks forage for food without leaving. Out of their studies came the trophic dynamic nest showing begging behavior. Concept of ecology, introduced by Lindemann. In 1942, this concept marked the beginning of modern ecology. Out of Lindemann's study came further pioneering work on energy flow and energy budgets by Hutchinson and H.T. and E.P. Odum in the 1950s in America. Early work on the cycling of nutrients was done by Ovington, 1957, in England and Australia, and by Rodin and Basilevig, 1967, in Russia. One of the interesting aspects of development of ecology during the first third of this century remains that a tendency towards increased specialization in ecology has occurred, as is evidenced by the establishment of such disciplines as paleoecology, a study of environmental conditions and life as it existed in past ages. Pollen analysis, radioactive dating, and paleontology have aided the paleoecologists. Other specialized fields of ecology which took their birth during this time are zoogeography, the scientific study of the geographic distribution of animals; oceanography, the study of the biotic and physical conditions existing on oceans, bays, and estuaries; and limnology, the study of the living and non-living components of inland waters. With the establishment of specialized disciplines of ecology, the value of application of ecology to such fields as agriculture, forestry, wildlife conservation, fisheries management, and pest control became apparent, and, thus, a new discipline called applied ecology came into its existence. Further, in the second decade of 20th century, great emphasis was laid on statistical studies on populations, sampling techniques, and community studies. During this period, several important texts published: Lotka's Elements of Physical Biology, Elton's Animal Ecology, Volterra's Animal Ecology, Gauss's The Struggle for Existence, and Bodenheimer's Problems of Animal Ecology. Certain distinguished ecologists of earlier half and present decade of this century are Clements, Cowles, Shelford, Pierce, Osting, A.M. Woodbury, Hutchinson, D.V., Lindemann, F.E. Smith, Slobodkin, Hairston, T. Park, O. Park, Emerson, MacArthur, G.L. Clark, C.B. Knight, H.T. and E.P. Odum, R.L. Smith, F.J. Bernberg, C.J. Krebs, R. Misra, M.S. Mani, etc. Development of ecology during this century. Limnology is the study of living and non-living have been greatly stimulated by organization of components of inland waters, e.g., pond, river. Ecologists. The British Ecological Society was founded in 1913, and this society sponsored two journals, namely Journal of Ecology, started in 1913, 10 Ecology, Environmental Biology, and Journal of Animal Ecology, started in 1932. Following the British, the Ecological Society of America was established in 1915, which also sponsored two publications, Ecology in 1920 and Ecological Monographs in 1931. Branches of Ecology. The science of ecology is often divided into autoecology and synecology. Autoecology deals with the study of the individual organism or an individual species. In this, life histories and behavior as a means of adaptation to the environment are usually emphasized. Synecology deals with the study of groups of organisms which are associated together as a unit, i.e., community. Thus, if a study is made of the relation of a white oak tree, or of white oak trees in general, to the environment, the work would be autoecological in nature. If the study concerned the forest in which the white oak lives, the approach would be synecological. Odum, 1971. While autoecology is experimental and inductive, the synecology is philosophical and deductive. Smith, 1974. Synecology is often further subdivided into aquatic and terrestrial ecology. The aquatic ecology includes freshwater ecology, estuarine ecology, and marine ecology. Terrestrial ecology, subdivided further into such areas as forest ecology, grassland ecology, cropland ecology, and desert ecology, is concerned with terrestrial ecosystems, their microclimate, soil chemistry, nutrient and hydrological cycle, and productivity. Further, demecology is that branch of ecology which deals with the ecology of populations. Early ecologists have recognized two major subdivisions of ecology in relation to plants and animals, plant ecology and animal ecology. But when it was found that in the ecosystems plants and animals are very closely associated and interrelated, then, both of these major subdivisions of ecology into plant ecology and animal ecology became vague. Besides these major subdivisions, the ecology has been classified in the following branches according to the level of organization, kind of environments or habitats, and taxonomic position. 1. Habitat ecology. It deals with the study of different habitats of the biosphere. According to the kind of habitat, ecology is subdivided into marine ecology, freshwater ecology, and terrestrial ecology. The terrestrial ecology too is further subdivided into forest ecology, cropland ecology, grassland ecology, etc., according to the kind of study of its different biomes. 2. Ecosystem ecology. It deals with the analysis of ecosystem from structural and functional point of view, including the interrelationship of physical abiotic and biological biotic components of environment. 3. Conservation ecology. It deals with methods of proper management of natural resources such as land, water, forests, sea, mines, etc., for the benefit of human beings. 5. 4. Production conservation of natural resources can be done through proper management. Ecology. It is the modern subdivision of ecology which deals with the gross and net production of different ecosystems such as freshwater, seawater, crop fields, orchards, etc., and tries to do proper management of these ecosystems. Introduction. So that maximum yield can be obtained from them. 5. Radiation ecology. It deals with the study of gross effects of radiations and radioactive substances over the environment and living organisms. 6. Taxonomic ecology. It is concerned with the ecology of different taxonomic groups and eventually includes following subdivisions of ecology: plant ecology, insect ecology, invertebrate ecology, vertebrate ecology, microbial ecology, and so on. 7. Human ecology. It deals with the study of relationship of man with his environment. 8. Space ecology. It is a modern subdivision of ecology which remains concerned with the development of partially or completely regenerating ecosystems for supporting life of man during long space flights or during extended exploration of extraterrestrial environments. 9. Systems ecology. The systems ecology is the most modern branch of ecology which is concerned with the analysis and understanding of the function and structure of ecosystem by the use of applied mathematics such as advanced statistical techniques, mathematical models, and computer science.